wish I could say I did it doing something. But so you made it. It's not bad. I assume it's only one bus for you to get here. So it's not too bad. Oh, here, yeah. I mean, I didn't see him performing. Like, presented.
Checked it from all the seats, so it should be good. Yeah, and then Gomo can also dial you.
Go with the flow.
Global flow.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good battle. And yeah, we just finished one, our biggest one, Zona Central.
Oh yeah.
There's a new one coming.
Oh sweet man.
Oh wow, I get the middle seat, hey?
Yes.
And the microphone's right here.
I feel like I said before, I get too deep in.
Too confident?
Yeah.
I want to like cross my legs.
Of the incubator. Super stoked that the weather is so nice and y'all are still out here. Appreciate that. We have the legendary Vince, Gill, Rico.
Hey everyone.
Hi.
All have contributed a lot to the scene. All have done many different projects. Yeah, take note of any questions that you might have along the way, and we'll make time for those. But yeah, I would just like to start things off with a little introduction from y'all. Maybe, yeah, start with your name, any aliases that you might have, crews that you represent, pronouns. Yeah, start there.
Sounds good. I guess I'll start. So my name is Vince, B-Boy V Nice. I'm part of a local crew called People's Militia. And I've been dancing probably close to 20 years. Started in university and got connected with a lot of folks there that we started a crew and then built built out from that. Born and raised in Calgary, so it's cool to be able to see the growth and the change in the city, especially through my dance journey. And I would say a lot of my inspiration is my cousins that were part of the Renegades, that were part of San Francisco and Oakland. They inspired me a lot. And then in university, especially when had more money, found breaking, took a class, and just fell in love. So that's a little bit about myself. Pass it, Jill.
Cool, thank you. So my name is Gill with a G. Most people in the street dance community here locally would know me through co-founding Pulse Studios. My love for dance actually comes from a love of music. My dad used to take me to the public library, and we would just split up as soon as we get there. I would find myself in the CD section. Yes, the CD section. And then that kind of grew into, I guess, closet dancing, I would say. When much music was still around, I would watch the Friday night sessions, memorize some of the dance moves, turn off the lights in my bedroom and dance. But like what Vinny was saying, I was actually born in Manila, raised in Calgary. And professionally now, I'm in marketing. I work for a nonprofit called Platform Calgary, and still try to stay in touch with the dance community here, but more so for personal reasons, getting down on the dance floor, sometimes taking a dance class here or two, and then contributing to some projects here also. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Rico?
Yes, my name is Rico Martinez, originally born in Mexico City. Been dancing since early 90s. So I started as a b-boy, literally cardboard and radio. I still had that experience. I got really lucky at first, at a really young age to be able to travel around the world doing dance. And this path find me to come to Canada. And when I moved to Canada, I was missing something. And then the city that I live or used to live in didn't have anything streetwise like dance, like b-boys, b-girls, nothing. So I had to leave dance for a while, for 7 years. That's one of the biggest things that it really hurt. But I had to create my own path, and we opened Pound Hip Hop Studios in Red Deer, and ever since it's been a great journey. And yeah, continue to teach and push the youth and have fun with it.
Amazing. I guess just like continuing on the introductory trajectory, what would you say are some of the projects that you're most proud of? If you were to just list them off, a couple off the top, and then for the one that resonates, what do you think that you got the most out of from that one project?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to start, ladies first?
Sure. So through Pulse Studios, we did a lot of incredible projects, and I think the ones that stand out for me are specific to bringing the community together through the events. Events was a huge way for us to not only showcase the different dance styles, but also the culture of each of these dances, as well as the people who were teaching them, kind of at the forefront of some of these dances. So you think about like voguing and whacking as a culture. Back in 2011, there wasn't a lot of that being exposed in Calgary in general, even locking and popping. And I think the most, probably the proudest, I would say, is Extra Credit, the Street Dance Festival. It started in 2014, all the way up to 2019. And the reason being is because, each of these art forms have their own history, music, rituals, and traditions. And I felt like Extra Credit was the one kind of event that brought all of those dance styles under this kind of umbrella of, freestyle and self-expression, creativity, but also for teams and crews to come with, to represent their own communities. And so what it was essentially a high school versus high school street dance competition. So there was kind of that component to it, but then we also integrated all styles and a breaking component. And there's never been a year where I wasn't crying in the back because of how epic it really was, seeing how much time everybody put into their pieces. You had crews bringing in props, a lot of storytelling on the dance floor, but then the same people would also, have the courage and enter a battle against their teammate, or if it was another school, little friendly turf war, if you will. And every year we saw new people come in, and I think that was the biggest, the most important part of that was just sharing what was happening in the room to more people, so that at the end of the day, we just have more people contributing to the community, and to be inspired, and to kind of create their own thing out of that. So I'm really proud of that, and it took a lot of people involved. It wasn't just us or Pulse Studios, but there was a bunch of other organizations too that helped with bringing that together, in addition to all the high schools that said yes. Yeah. Anybody else? Rico? Vince?
Yeah, go ahead, Rico.
For me, it's got to be, of course, the studio first of all. Then in 2017, we did Street Style Lab, which is originally from New York, and we were able to bring it to Alberta. Of course, we have some of the OGs coming through and just teaching our community. Our community is very small. It's Red Deer. People are not aware of what street dance and hip hop really is until we had the opportunity to present that to them and to our youth. And I think I'm really proud of that. It took a lot. It was very challenging, but it was really great to have that in our community just to bring awareness to the kids in the community and realize that there's more to it, not just steps. It's the people behind it, the people that paved the way for us to be able to do this. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Love it. And I guess for me, so this is even pre-Pulse, where Five Kings. So I'd done that event before I even opened up the studio. And for me, I would say I was probably just a few years into my dance journey, but then I saw the sort of like an opportunity where there weren't that many crew battles, and I really wanted to grow with my crew. So doing that was my first jam, and with it, I was still a university student, so I felt like I didn't have much money, but the community sort of provided once I put it out there that I wanted to do this. I had a lot of support from my instructor back then, B-Boy Rain, where he helped me with the sound, and then with folks that were sort of the leaders of the community stepped up and helped with my marketing. A lot of the folks from Original Roots, like Caleb and also Ryan Hoseway, helped host it. So with a lot of those connections, even though it was my first jam, I felt like the community really helped me to make it happen. And then with some of the connects that I had through my cousin down in San Francisco, I was able to bring up like Kid David. My cousin Tommy Guns also came up too. So it actually turned out to be a really important event, not just for the community, but for myself as stepping into that event promoting role, where it helped me give me the confidence in myself and willing to push doing stuff that maybe I didn't think back then that I should be in that role, but I did it anyways. And the learning that I gained from actually stepping up doing that helped me with the next journey with like putting energy into Pulse. So for me, that was like a really pivotal event that helped me develop the confidence to build more.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
No, those are all really great. I feel like the ripples of those events can still be felt, and you're all still doing the work. I know Five Kings is coming up again, so that's awesome to see all these
This
things
September,
coming
if
full
you guys would
circle.
make it out, come check it out.
Is there anything on the extra credit? Do you think that initiative will pop up again, or?
One of the things that, one of the reasons, or kind of like what sparked Pulse Studios in the first place was the notion of like filling a need. And so at the time that Extra Credit was created, there wasn't necessarily a platform for all of these dance crews and the freestyle community to come together in a way that was maybe a little bit different in terms of a format, friendly competition, And so at that time, it made sense. And now I think the scene has evolved in a way where that need is different. It looks a bit different. And so I think in order for extra credit to come back at this time, one, like, I mean, if everybody is involved in the past wanted it to happen, let's make it happen. But, you know, there has to be a need, and it has to make sense for the scene, because if it doesn't serve something and bring something different to the community, which also includes maybe like different people, then I don't really think it makes sense to bring it back. But yeah, right now it's living in the memories and on YouTube.
No, I remember being in the state gym and never experiencing that many screaming youth. It's like thousands of kids, I think.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah, so my next question is, what would you consider a pivotal failure or like point of resistance that you really had to struggle through? And what did you get out of it? Why was it pivotal?
Who wants to take this one?
You go first.
You go first. The one who spoke up first. I think first of all, like when you're an artist or when you're creating something, it's quite vulnerable. It's a personal journey of like your own becoming. And when we started the studio, we were quite young and we didn't have any business in really starting it. We had no experience. I wouldn't even call myself as an artist. You know, there was just so many factors that was like, nah, not a good idea, right? And all this fear, and then also like, when you think about what goes into building a space, all the operations, all the admin, but at the end of it, at the kind of any project that you think of, whether it's a big business, small business, or a theater show, or you're, you know, working with your students to do a piece of choreography, you're dealing with people. And when you're working with people every day, it can be, you know, unpredictable, and also you have to have such a great sense of empathy of who that person is on the other side when you're making deals, cutting contracts, negotiating money, and because it's a personal game as much as it is a professional game. And I would say when I look at the specific timeline of where we made big decisions that didn't go our way, it was because there wasn't a fundamental understanding of like what we were trying to get to on the other side for both parties. I wouldn't go into very specifics, but I would say that, yeah, like one of the hardest parts about being in the studio business was being in relationship with, you know, the artists that we were working with, and also with each other. But what I personally learned through that was, you know, first of all, I had massive imposter syndrome, and I know that's like a buzzword, but again, I just talked about, you know, not having the credibility to start a studio in the first place. But I was also really young, and I kind of put that hat on. And I didn't feel like there was moments where I could really say what I really needed to say, even though I had all the kind of the facts or the truths in front of me to have that. And I think it was because I was personally just like insecure and not confident. And so my lessons from then was like, you know what? The worst kind of person I could be in any relationship is the person that is not willing to say what's on my mind, knowing that there's some truth there, but coming from a place of like, I want to make this work, and that there's no malintent, but that we're trying to figure out a win-win here. And so because of that, just also like practicing voicing my opinion on certain things from that space. It's like, I just want to do good for everybody and for the situation. So like, let me say something that's been on my mind or what makes sense for me. How do you feel about it? You know, like, what do you think? Am I hearing you? And it's like such a communication game and a relationship game. So yeah, those are some of the big ones for me.
Great answer.
All right, let's see. A lot of thoughts going on through that one. That is a tough question.
It is.
So I feel like when it comes to failure for myself, and I'm just taking it the realm, especially when I was part of Pulse Studios and the chapter that we did have, or that I had as part of it, was like stepping into that power, as Jill was saying, with about like imposter syndrome, right? I felt like I had an opportunity to really mentor and help others, whether it be instructors, dancers, community, but I wasn't mature at that level yet where I could. And when people were asking for help, I might not have provided the level of help that at my age right now that I would. Like stepping in, being more of that mentor and the coach, I think I'm more ready for it now. But back then, I feel like just coming out of university, when starting Pulse, holy smokes. Like, it's pretty crazy. We're like building the jet plane as we're flying it. So from that regard, I don't think mentally I was ready to make some of the decisions where maybe things didn't align when working with other artists or speaking my truth or seeing like I can be an authority in the room and share my opinion. So I'd say one of my failures is not voicing what I felt inside because I felt imposter syndrome. And also when others were asking for help from me, sometimes I didn't know how to help them because I wasn't emotionally mature enough. Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, for me, I would say, you know, as much as you feel like you can trust somebody and, you know, have love and care for them, you have to have everything and not just in writing, but you have to involve yourself and, you know, get a lawyer, get involved in that. That's one of my biggest mistakes that I made, trusting people that I shouldn't, and that is a really big lesson for us. So, you know, I think we all don't know where we're gonna go when it comes to business. That you learn as you go, but you have to go for it. But you really have to do that research and, you know, be aware of what the challenges that are gonna come through people. At the end of the day, you're dealing with people, and yeah, you just never know. So protect yourself, 100%.
Great feedback.
Yeah.
Great answers. Just want to take a sec if there's any questions. Okay, perfect. My next question is on the tip of starting up a business, starting up a project, whether it's revenue based or creative based or community based. What would you say are some of your like top lessons or like advice or like cheat codes that you would keep in mind when you're approaching starting?
Rico, you want to go first?
And if you ever get any like
We're all
further on
thinking
the
here.
question,
I'm trying to get it.
Very
Yeah,
good
just repeat that again.
questions.
Okay, so when it comes to starting a project,
Yeah.
whether it's artistic or creative or community, what is like your advice? What would you tell your past self if you were trying to start something fresh, brand new? You know, jumping into that territory, whether it's like a music video or throwing a jam or, you know, applying for a travel grant or
I got one. So we recently started to do a movie, and that was very challenging because obviously we didn't know anything about it. And I think that you have to really do your research on what you want to do, like reach as many people possible to you know, to guide you through the process of what you want to do, and have those contacts as well. Like, you know, like ask the questions to people. Say, what is it gonna take to do this? Like, obviously, doing a movie for us is insane. It's crazy, right? And it's taking a lot. But also, like, a lot of people has shut doors on our face like so quickly. It's like, who are you to be in Hollywood, right? But it's something that keeps me going forward. But yeah, I think just doing your research, you know, getting with the right people to guide you through it. So.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind is start small. Like, even in my journey, I found like when you make it too big, it's almost like there's a saying where you're eating the elephant whole, which is just too much. So break it into smaller things, like start off with like even a small practice where if you want to build on the style and there's no one else doing it, and then grow from there. Maybe like in my journey, especially as a breaker, first building that crew, practices, and then wanting to learn more. There wasn't too much going on. Doing a workshop here, flying someone over, see if there's a demand there. And then as you go through the journey with that, it'll open up more doors, you'll start learning, and then you can start building off of that. So I found for me, I started really small and let it just gradually grow. But finding ways to keep consistent with it where you keep the momentum going. And then through the journey, you'll find other people in the community that are aligned, and then you can start working with others through it. Because even, for example, when Gill and I started Pulse, we didn't just start it and then it opened up. Like it took us 2 years of working in our condos, talking to other people in the community, and then it wasn't until we found alignment with Tara Wilson and her husband at the time where we took it to the next step of starting to look at space, and at the same time we're doing a bunch of things. But it all started from an idea and just growing it slowly where you sort of meet the idea where it's at. But then over time, what I learned is I was getting really resourceful because everything didn't have to come out of my pocket. I was able to find other people in the scene that were able to give a little bit here, a little bit there. It may have been more like time, it may have been resources. It wasn't always money, but those things sort of add up and they accumulated to something bigger. And I even know during the time before we started Pulse, we were doing like crazy flash mobs all across the city. Like we had like 60 to 70 people deep that we'd be hitting like Chinook Mall, TD Mall, like where else? The zoo, right? The Calgary Zoo. And these are just ways to build up interest in the studio before it started. So a lot of the stuff that we've done, some of it was calculated, a lot of it was like ideas that came on the spot, but it started with small steps that gradually had a bigger effect or a bigger ripple. Yeah.
I love that. I want to expand on like the ripple effect because sometimes, like just even personally, thinking about the decisions that I made or we made, you know, there's that fear of like, is this going to work? Am I making the right step? I'm going to be putting a lot of time and maybe personal money into this grant application. Like, is it going to be worth it? Is this the right step for me? And sometimes that fear of like unknown or just fear of being vulnerable and like making a mistake, it can stop anybody from really starting. And what I love about this ripple effect kind of concept is that the more steps that you take towards whatever it is that you're building is gonna open another door, another learning, unlock something, build a new connection, get you in front of a new person. And so I'm just gonna take my kind of like my other hat, which is professionally I'm in marketing, and I work for a nonprofit where I get to be exposed to entrepreneurs who are building tech companies right here in the city. And one of the concepts in startup world is what is, you know, first of all, filling a need, and whether that's through your personal project or you're, you know, working with an organization, whatever it is, it's filling a need. But then before you really like put everything into it, what is like the first, like the very basic small step that can take the overwhelm away, take a little bit of that fear away, but also for you just to get more feedback to what it is that you're doing and if that's the right step. And I like that framework in terms of thinking about everything in life, really, because fear and not knowing what's ahead can really stop us from just taking that first step. And I think when you build momentum, and if like you just think about the energy that it takes, like a stopped train to getting it just to like moving, it's a lot of energy, right? And so when you want to try to build momentum, and the only way you're going to really build momentum is by taking one step at a time. And the only way that you're really going to learn is by taking one step at a time. And that this idea of failure is really just speed bumps. Like they're just for opportunities for you to learn something different, something else that you can take back into your process, into your decision making, into your artistry, into the decisions. Like, yeah, I think that's it's so big. Like just taking that step, feeling the fear anyways, and just do it, and just doing it.
I always say show up. Even to my kids, if you get invited to something, you never know who's gonna be in the room. Just show up. Like even if it's a small thing, like it doesn't matter how big you are or how influential you are in the online, but it's so important to just show up, and then a lot of doors open up from there. So.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Never mind.
I love that. It's like you just, you made one decision today, and you're there now. And you never know who's going to be in the room,
Yes.
what conversation is going to spark an idea or like connect the dots for you. Or the other thing that could happen is that you just actually find out that whatever decision you just made is like actually not the right one that you want to go forward with. And that's awesome. So just taking the first like steps and then, and then doing it and learning from it.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I was going to say, it reminds me of stepping into a cipher. You feel scared, you just got to take the first step, jump in, see what happens. And then, based on that concept though as well, I'm just curious, as dancers also and creatives, are there any elements from the creative side and the dance that you learned from the dance that you now apply to the business and the creative or the career and the revenue generation side of things? And what would those be? Like, what were those like takeaways from the creative side that you got?
Yeah, for me, I think that's actually a huge one. I feel like the things I learned in dance and being creative really helped with shaping my professional career. So also, as my career, I'm a professional, what's the word?
IT.
Yeah, I'm professional, like
So,
tech professional. Couldn't find the right word. So with it, I've always done that. That's what I went to school with in computer science. So I always kept that as part of my journey. But the thing with tech is there's so many ways to do things. Like it's such a fast-moving industry that there isn't just a handful of ways. There's actually like thousands, if not millions, especially with AI nowadays. Like possibilities are endless. The thing that I got out of dance is you got a blank canvas. What type of art do you want to make? I should take that perspective into my tech career, because then from it, same way when you're building out your art, there's a level of confidence that you're bringing to it. So even in the IT world, that's what I'm doing. I'm hearing an idea and I'm presenting a solution, but I get to create that art of what it looks like. So for me, dance has taught me, especially dancing in front of a bunch of people. Sometimes you got to talk to a room full of executives or whatnot. You got to be able to showcase your confidence and you bottom lining this idea. So with everything that I learned in dance on how to present myself, share my dance, I've taken that to my tech career, and it shaped me and grown me in a similar fashion. Yeah.
Learning, like being in the studio and learning from some of the greats was really hard. I wasn't a technical dancer growing up. And so learning in my kind of early 20s there, what dance has taught me is like the art and science of craft. So like when you are just so into the thing that you're doing, and you're trying to find yourself and build style into, your craft, whether it's dance, whether it's filmmaking, etc. There's the process of doing that. And when I think about that process, it's like, you gotta work hard. You gotta keep doing it even though you suck today. You have to learn technique. Like there's some technique to learn, right? And you gotta learn the technicalities of what it is that you're trying to put together. And then if you are, if we're talking about dance, if you're gonna put it on stage, like versus, busking, or you're doing a piece of choreography, like all of that takes work and diligence and just doing it even though you're super sore and tired and don't want to. And I think that type of resilience is something that I bring to my work. And even though I suck at what I'm doing at the moment, it's not definitive of who like I am or like the end game. And if you can fall in love with the craft of just learning and doing and getting better at it, I think that has personally created so much meaning and purpose for me in my professional career, but in like other projects that I've done. Because yeah, when you're doing something epic, whatever that looks like for you, it's worth it. Like it's worth for you to go through the hardship sometimes, and it's not gonna be exciting and like awesome all the time. There's gonna be some speed bumps and some hard times there too. So yeah, thankful, grateful for those lessons early on.
So yeah, for me it would be like discipline, like obviously showing up to practice, being there even if you're tired, like also learning different personalities, the people you're surrounded with. You're gonna be able to deal with that in business, right? I was lucky to learn from big executives at a young age how to understand your value as a dancer, as an artist. It's big for me because, you know, sometimes we get looked at as like, we're gonna pay you $50 to dance here. It's like, nah, actually this is my value. You know, you need to understand your value, and I was lucky to learn that at a young age, being surrounded with these people. And yeah, mostly for me is those three things: discipline and being confident to be able to deal with people in business, different personalities, and understanding your value is what taught me to dance.
Awesome. No, great answers. Just want to pause another moment. Anyone have questions regarding starting, creating? Yes.
Since this is a grant thing, what was your first grant you applied for, and what did you win from it?
I applied for a Story Hype grant, and I did a podcast on hip hop history. And yes, so what I learned from it is, of course, it's challenging. You have to get a great crew to do this with you. Have the proper questions for the people, for the artists that you're inviting, and I would say I learned that it's a really cool platform to have for you to spread more awareness of hip hop and the culture in general. And I will do it again. So if you can, you should. Yeah.
Through the work with the studio, our partner Tara actually did a lot of that for us. The personal experience that I can bring is I actually sat on the other side of the grant writing. So I was part of the panel, or a panel, where we review different kinds of projects, and it wasn't just related to street dance, but it was theater projects, small community projects, etc. The things that I learned was, wow, it's like an official business application. It's very, as much as you're putting your vision and trying to put some language around it, there's a game to play. And what your project is has to match whatever the funding is. And so, really being very diligent about understanding what the grant is for, and being able to address all the aspects of it in your application, and not maybe getting too far away with focusing on the vision, but it's like, how does your vision fit into this grant application? There's also, the more projects you do and the more applications that you do gives you a sense of credit and history. And you show organizations like Calgary Arts Development that you are a successful artist, in a sense of, hey, you've done a project, you've used public funding responsibly, and you produce an outcome that hit goals. And that's really meaningful. And so going back to that conversation of like, how do you start? It's like, just do it. Because even if you're not getting the grant, the fact that you're just hitting the database and you're hitting their system as someone who actually has gone through that formal process is really, really helpful for you to eventually get something possibly in the near future or in the future. I also feel like it gives you reps, right? So you get the practice of articulating whatever else what your project is, and in a way where it's like, oh my God, why do I have to talk about, who I'm going to be impacting when I already told you in this like 200 words, I already did that. Why do I have to do it again? But it's like building reps. And, when you're asking for public funding, it's really important that you fulfill a mandate. It's not just for your personal reasons, right? It's like, we're talking about building a city here through arts and culture. And so there has to be some formality of it. And so there's that. And then I just want to, if I can, add one more thing, because I think this is huge, is as you're growing in your practice and the things that your projects, make sure that you're collecting evidence of it. And by that I mean, even if it's scratching ideas or your lessons or the list of people that you got to work with for that specific project, even if you're just scratching it down in a notebook, it's like you just put it down so that at some point in the future you can reference it again. If you have the means to produce a portfolio, like whether that's through media, you can interview the people that you're working with and get, a little testimonial of like what the project was, how you contributed to that. Just like creating little pieces of nuggets that you can use towards a grant, even if you're not thinking about applying for a grant right now. Especially because you're in the building phase and you're just trying to test and experiment. It's all data to me. So yeah, the more that you can collect any of your work so far would be really helpful for when the time comes.
Yeah, so for me, the one grant that I got was when Naheed Nenshi was mayor of the city, and they had this initiative about, I can't remember the name of the grant. It's like something about making Calgary the most multicultural capital, or we won that award.
Yeah,
Was that
multicultural city.
Cultural City? But regardless, it was a cool grant that was like $3,000, and that really helped. Like, that was the first grant I applied for, and it was huge because I applied it for 5 Kings and was able to up the event to have a $3,000 prize money, where it actually attracted more national attention, especially from dancers and whatnot. So I think grants are wicked for taking something that might be grassroots and for next level with trying to up level it. So it was a great way for us to make our event bigger, but also because the event was bigger, we had more funding that we were able to carry over for next year. And it actually lasted, that one grant gave us carryover funding for 2 years of doing like 5 Kings. So just that one little thing was like huge, where initially I was just looking for money. But then I was like, wow, this actually has like a ripple effect that was incredible. And also to Jill's point about how it helps you build a portfolio, I also find grants helpful for sponsorship. Like going through the process of doing a grant, it's not too different from like you getting financial sponsors from businesses within the city. Because then you want to find that win-win for not only your event, but also the recipient that you're trying to get sponsorship from. So going through the grant process will help you sort of see your event differently, where you could take that formula and look at also private equity or private money within the city.
I love that. And I actually just want to add one thing, which is like sometimes if you're not even sure what your idea could be, that if you have awareness of what grants are out there, you could build a project that could help you build that portfolio for something down the road. And so kind of like working backwards a little bit, I know Jared Herring did a really awesome session on grants in general, but there's like 2 ways kind of going about it. It's like you have a project already, you just need funding for it. Or 2, you're like looking for what grants are out there to spark an opportunity that can help you maybe grow or stretch you a little bit. But you're getting access to a grant, and you're building your reps to getting that, or to write a grant. And then I love that you tied it to sponsorship, because absolutely, like you're looking at your project a bit differently, where there's kind of a business case, and the business case is what value are you bringing to the table, and how are you going to bring it together and execute it. And so, yeah, like I love that you tied it back to sponsorship, because it's very similar to how you would approach sponsorship, and so that could even help you unlock, different ways of getting funding for any project. Anything to add, or no?
Just keep trying. They're so hard to get, those grants.
It is.
But you just gotta
We're
keep
making
trying.
it sound
It's
easy.
just in the wording, how you word your grant, and keep trying. Eventually, you'll get one. Yes.
And we also have those resources. When Dennis rolls through, we have a little bit of a retainer budget. It's essentially, I think he charges $50 for a review. So first come, first serve. If you have a grant or something that you want reviewed, just send it my way. I'll forward it to Dennis until we use up all the money. And yeah, on the Discord, there's also kind of those like reps, or those like small baby steps, filling out your artist CV, applying to the different grant portals. All of those things are, just starting, kind of getting the first bits of momentum rolling. The next question I had kind of relates to what you were saying about momentum and building momentum. For me as an artist, I've actually found that a key piece for me and balance is momentum. Very much like riding a bike or spin a coin or a top. If it's not moving, it's very difficult to maintain that balance. So on the idea of balance and your life, and obviously we have a lot of projects in your career and your dance and your families, how do you balance it all? And how do you maintain that momentum for yourself in a healthy way?
I'm actually a believer of there's no such thing as balance.
For us.
Hold on a second, let me explain. It's like if you've got 100 things going on at the same time, and we all have 24 hours in a day, you have to split up your time to all those 100 projects. And so when I think about momentum, I think a part of that momentum is actually having very clear idea of what it is that you're trying to get to, where you're spending all your time, where you're not spending your time, where you're spending your money, where you're not spending your money. Because if something like doing whatever it is the fastest way possible or the most efficient way possible, you have to put your energy and time into it and your focus. And, when you're building a craft, we're talking about creative work here, where there's a process, distilling the process, learning different things to bring into that. It takes time. And so the more that you can focus into whatever it is, and kind of bat away everything else that doesn't fit into that, in my opinion, it's that's where you build that momentum. Now, if you are also, I think with building something, it does take a personal toll. So if you're, mentally feeling overwhelmed, or if it's too much, and you're frustrated and anxious and you don't know why, it's probably a good sign that you're probably taking on too much, and that you haven't found that balance in a way of how do you take care of yourself when you're doing something so epic, because it's going to take a toll. And for me, I've obsessed about certain things to the point where I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not eating, I'm not drinking my water, I'm sacrificing sleep. And sure, in my 20s, I could get away with that. But I think the greatest power and leverage actually comes from your ability to sustain your energy and your creativity And I believe that the only way that you can really do that is you take care of yourself. So whatever that means for you. And I think that's where the word balance comes for me, is like, how well are you taking care of your family, if you have that, and yourself, so that you can output.
Yeah, I would say for me it's time management, like focusing on what really is important to you at the moment, whatever project you're working on. And I mean, we have such a busy life. Our life is just, we got 2 kids. It's just insane. Like, we working while we're driving, you know what I mean? We eating while we're driving. Like, there's no, for us, it's not a schedule. We're like, oh, we're gonna sit down and have a dinner. Our schedule's so busy, we got so much going on, but just, yeah, that's a very good point. Taking care of yourself so you can keep having that energy to push forward to whatever that is you're working on. So, yeah, just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say for me, my thought process is different from Jill's, and we've had some lengthy discussions. I think balance is important. So for me,
He is my balance.
yeah, like it's finding out like what fills your cup, like what you can recharge on. And for me, that's huge, because then for me to output, I got to be able to like put myself first and make sure that I'm like sleeping well, eating well, doing all the things from mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, that I could come at 100%. So I felt over the years, especially when it relates to art and stuff, when we're doing Pulse, there's so many different areas that we could focus on. There's so many subcultures, so many dance styles, where for me, building momentum were the things that I found fun. Like if I had like joy and I was having fun doing it, I found it easier to keep that momentum going. Actually found it tougher when I was trying to do something where it was almost like I was just forcing it, that I was always pushing up against resistance. So for me, it's also okay to let things go when I'm not feeling like, yeah, like this isn't filling my cup, or this is causing too much resistance. Just pick and choose the things that you enjoy have really worked well for me to be like, all right, I'm having fun doing this, let's let it ride. And that's one of those things when, especially starting Pulse, we're part of it for 6 years. And through the journey of it, everything that we're doing probably like event or 2 every quarter, where we were also trying to build up classes. I was working my full-time job and doing Pulse part-time. And the reason why I was able to do all that, especially in my mid to late 20s and 30s, was because I was having a lot of fun. And the good thing is I did find the balance with being able to break, had my professional career where I was able to keep the lights on, like, you know, do that. So everything that I was outputting for Pulse, it actually came easy. So when we're doing all these events and trying to build all these different subcultures, I felt like I had the energy to do it because it was fun. So that's the thing that I learned early on. If I'm coming from a place of finding joy, love, and the passion in it, like everything else will just align, especially with building that momentum. Yeah.
Can I add something there with a little bit of a different angle? Because I think all 3 of us touched on like a personal perspective on balance when you're building projects. And all 3 of us have experience with building a business and a dance studio. And we're also in the, we're also in the business of building community. And so with Momentum, I think one of the balances or things that the decisions that we were constantly making was like, is this beneficial to the community? And is this also beneficial to the dance studio?
Word.
Because they both can exist, and we weren't willing to sacrifice the community aspects for the business. And I think I can speak that, but you maybe you want to add to that, but for the 3 of us here. And so I think a lot of the momentum that we build from a business perspective was because we were listening to community. And we were having conversations with you, Kevin, and even you, Jared, in the back. And we were trying to understand like what the community needed.
Yes.
Because the studio was, just a physical space. And sure, there was like 4 people on like the business, but it was really about like having this platform to do the things that we wanted to see for the scene and for the community. And so we saw a lot of momentum when we took ideas or we worked with different community members, and we just, put resources behind that idea. Whether it was a physical space, whether they wanted to see a specific artist, whether we, in consensus, said, hey, we need to focus on, like a dance hall community. Yeah, let's do it, right? Like we need this. It's important, and so we would do it together. And I think that's where momentum started to happen, because it wasn't an idea that was coming from one person's head, but it was an idea that was based on collective voices. Yeah, collectively.
You definitely have to listen to community, what the community wants, what the community needs, especially the youth, the young generation, like you guys. It's very important to, even you have a great vision, but that vision might not work for everybody. So you have to really understand what everybody needs, what everybody wants. There was a point when we first opened the studio, I had parents coming to me, we should do world of dance, look at this. Like, that's no hip hop. But okay, and so you have to have that balance of like giving them what they want, but also like throwing in there little things that like, no, this is what really is all about. And now that has switched. If you move to Red Deer, you don't see kids loving choreography. They want to battle, they want to cipher. It's super important, and it's good to see that now after 15 years, that change in our city. So.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Love to hear it. Any other questions?
I have a question. Yeah. Since you're just talking about how you're kind of able to get more private sector interest in what you're doing alongside grant support, I find the pathway to like interest within private industry to be like hard to understand. I'd love to like better know routes that you've taken to get additional funding through that route. And then Jill, you also mentioned filling a need. So how you can kind of morph your projects to fill more of a need for maybe different initiatives that private industry would be happy to support, or would like, build up their brand while supporting your brand.
Yeah, so my take on that is, like, especially over the course of your dance journey, you're going to start building up a list of contacts and networks over the years that you worked with, whether doing performances or, shows and things like that. Look at those as like touch points that you could use in the future to reach out to, because they already have interest in the dance or the culture. So it's almost like an easier entryway where you're just throwing it out there, you're doing this, would you be open to support? And it's one of those things where there's also a saying where, you're just going around pouring coffee for people. You're asking, do you want coffee? And if they don't, then go to the next person. So it's almost like checking your, what's that word? Your ego at the door, where if you're getting turned down, you're like, oh, damn, that really hurt my ego. Like, try not to take it personal and just go on to someone else. I know initially when I started, I just hit up 17th Avenue, just go to each business and just share them what I'm doing and see if they're interested. And more times than not, some of them are interested, because then they can relate with where you're at. So I'd say that that's also an approach too, just like cold calls like that, and just try. And even if you get turned down, that's okay. Just find another person, and I think that's a good way to get reps and sort of build up your ability to talk to different businesses. And like I mentioned, with a network of people that you run into over the years, especially doing performances, those are great groups to reach out to. And then as you grow, you'll find other opportunities, whether networking or other things, where if they have an interest in arts, I think that's a good sign. So just remember that for the future. Yeah, that's my perspective. Not sure if you guys have anything to share.
At the end of the day, companies are deploying money for their motivations and their company's goals. So a part of the research and you kind of figuring out where to start your efforts for approaching sponsorship or donations would be to understand like one, what is like the need that you're trying to fulfill. When we're talking about like maybe an event, there's different motivations that you can probably come up with. whether that's community building, whether it's scene making, whether it's maybe it is full out like reach or exposure within like a specific audience. Those are things that would be interesting for the right kind of companies. So not every company that you're going to approach is going to understand, yes, but also have that need, if that makes any sense. And a part of like building a great sponsorship package really is to understand, one, what is the value that you can bring to the table, and why would a brand or a company want to get behind that? And sometimes it can be really simple under the banner of maybe a community project, but when you're trying to pitch big projects, and you're asking for, you know, like $25,000, for example, you have to be able to build a story of why that specific project matters. And then there's lots of strategies, like one, you have to speak to the people that are actually going to be making that decision to give you that money. So to Vince's point, you never know who a person, family, friend, auntie, a mentor, can really play a part with giving you opportunity to get in front of that person. Because like just in, you know, the people that I directly know, like I know that they have jobs and they have their own communities and their own, right? And so if you have nowhere to start, I would start with like your immediate network. And then, and then taking the step to articulating, you know, what it is that you're doing, why it matters, why it deserves that money, and then trying to find the company and the brand that actually also aligns with the values of what you're trying to do, because then you just make it easier for that person, that company to say yes. But would love to have a chat with you after to learn more about what your project is and maybe give you some more like specific tips after.
Yeah, I would say stay true to your craft, what you're doing. It has to be so authentic to you that other people are, you know, finally watching. Get whatever you're doing out there more often, because you never know who's watching you. And believe it or not, sometimes you have somebody, hey, we've been watching you for a few years. We want to work with you. And that is a crazy thing. But you have to be consistent. Stay consistent. Stay true to what you're doing. And the right people will come to you.
Any other questions? Okay, I got a couple more. We have about 15 minutes left.
Cool.
Any tips on finishing projects and staying true to the end, or knowing when to bail? Like when is it good to just like call it quits? Or how do you bring it to that point of like, yeah, finishing it? When do you call it finished?
When it's done. Okay. How do you finish? How do you bring it home? I feel like I want to ask you guys that question.
Yeah. I don't think it ever finishes. Like you always constantly building something. It's like whether it is a competition or a battle, you always building. You keep moving forward. I think I understand what you're trying to say. Is that the question? Is that the right question?
I just mean a lot of artists will start projects and never finish them. Like even for me as like a music producer, there's so many tracks that I've started that I've never finished, or I I have this idea for a program that I want to do, but it'll only be like half-baked, or like, I have this set that I'm working on with dance, but then, I get ADD and I'm working on a different movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I would say that those are all scenarios that are okay. I think if you want to see something through, there's personal element to it as much as like what the end game is. So if you don't have clarity on like what the specific outcome is, you're probably not going to cross that finish line, because the finish line just kind of looks a little different depending on the day or the time of day. But I think, like if you've got something cooking but you're not really clear on like what the end goal is, I think that's okay. But if you need to see it through, I think giving yourself a timeline. And I kind of like that you called out, there's been projects that you've started and didn't finish for multiple reasons. And I think in order for like me to personally feel okay with maybe saying, like letting go of something, or just saying, hey, you know what, this isn't actually what I thought, giving myself a timeline to even make that decision. Because there's been moments where I look back and I'm like, damn it, freaking regret spending all that time for nothing. But I think it's, yeah, when you're working on something big and it has like big stakes, so maybe you already put like a lot of money into it, or maybe you're, you know, it's collaboration with a person, and you don't want to like maybe ruin that collaboration, but at the end of it, you're like, you know what, this isn't feeling right. It's no longer something I want to put my energy into. You have to give yourself a timeline so that it's fair for everybody involved. And then on the personal side, it's like, I think we're getting into the realm of like motivation and like, and all this stuff. So speaking personally, one, what does this project mean to me? And why does it matter? Who am I impacting? Are they depending on me? And what do I have to do to make it happen? Because I've made a commitment is a big part of like how I look at projects, like serious ones that I really want to do. And that helps kind of the motivation. And I would say, yeah, like having just clarity on what it is that you're accomplishing, because there could be like little milestones to that end project, right? And it would suck if like you couldn't see a win through that whole process, but you have to create what that win looks like to say it's a win, right? So that you get the personal validation to keep going and to keep going. Yeah. Anything to add?
I guess for me, as art, it's always in progress. I don't think there is ever an end. And to Jill's point, it's almost like, what do you want to gain from like continuing it, and also is it serving a need? So I tie this a lot back to like, especially on the event side of things, like serving a need with the community. Like the reason why I'm doing Five Kings again, like the last one was done in 2018. The reason why I'm bringing it back is because with Red Bull BC1 happening here, there's so much emphasis on the one-on-one, where I really wanted to showcase to like like whoever comes here that is new to the city, the Calgary flavor, and having a crew aspect of it to complement what's happening. So even though we have such an amazing event that's happening here that is a global brand, I think from a local perspective, it excites me to be able to do like Five Kings so that we could bring that to the world and showcase like the Calgary hospitality, and also for all the dancers here, for them to get connected and battle in a crew. So that's the main driving like reason why I'm feeling that need for doing Five Kings this year. And I know that that's always going to change. Like I feel if there's a lot of crew battles and there's a need for it, I may not do it because I want to make sure it's hitting the mark. So I look at that with a lot of things, not just on the event side, but also in art. It's never done. I know it's always there. And there's points in time where maybe you got to put it on the back burner and focus on other things. But the beautiful thing that I always enjoyed with, especially breaking, is like I'm 43 now, and I find like as I'm going through my different ages and I'm getting injured, I may stop breaking for a bit, do other things to strengthen up, but it's always there. I'm never gonna put breaking on the shelf and be like, bye breaking, not doing no more. No man, I want to do it till I'm 90. Like I feel like I get so much joy out of it. I just got to meet myself where I'm at. So from that point of view, with anything in art, even with my IT career, I'm like, yeah, I'm never done. I'm never a master, always a student. Like I really love that phrase because I feel like it carries throughout so many different aspects of my life. I just take that approach with it. Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah.
They said it all.
Okay, last
It's like
question.
philosophical questions here.
What projects do you have upcoming that you're looking forward to? And how can we stay tuned? So you mentioned Five Kings.
Yeah.
Please plug yourselves. Let us know what you got going on.
Yeah, I guess for myself, just Five Kings right now. I feel like just because it's not only great for the community, but also a good way for me to keep in touch with my crew too, and also expanding bigger. And the cool thing about this year is, especially with the whole Red Bull weekend, it's not just like one or two organizations. We're actually engaging a lot of event promoters from over the years, like including Ryan Hoseway that done Ill Movements. Like he was a big part of doing hip hop events in late 90s to the mid 2000s. And with like Ontologic, with like Gomo, and also like Katero, I feel like there's so many organizations that we're coming together as a city for this one weekend where we want to really like showcase Calgary in all of its beauty to the wider world. So that for me really lights me up. And I think with everyone here that is on the fence, I really recommend checking it out. Like, I feel like there's not too many opportunities like this where Calgary can have such a amazing event, especially as we're building up to the World Finals in Toronto and Phil Wizard being Olympian. I think there's so many great things in the Canadian breaking, or the dancing in general, that the fact that Calgary's part of this journey. I don't want the city to lose sight of it. I think being a part of it, taking part, will be huge. And you're gonna see a lot of different generations where their approach to the dance, I feel like it's that in itself is super beautiful. Yeah.
Rico?
Yeah, so we're working on Go With The Flow again this year. It's going to be our second year. We're working on that. We're looking at a really good festival with a big brand, Lululemon. So we're going to bring a festival to Red Deer where everybody comes, and more than, we're going to take away, I want to take away more like the battle side of it, like the competitive side, and more bring like to the community, like a jam where people can come have fun, have food, and all that. And I'm also working on the film, of course. So once it's done, you guys can check it out. And the last thing would be working on, I'm pushing really hard to get a commercial for a big brand as well with top dancers in Alberta. So I hope that goes through, and I'll be reaching out to some people for it. So yeah, it's exciting.
That's awesome. I'm kind of folded into the Five Kings conversation.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah,
I've
your
actually,
job is projects.
yeah, it literally is.
Yeah.
I actually, like, if we have time, I actually wanted to get to know the audience a little bit
Yeah,
more and like
please, any
ask
questions you
them,
have, shoot 'em up.
ask them like what, I guess, yeah, I'll ask you. I'm curious, like, what kind of projects are you working on? And if you're not working on projects, what's your, in your field, like, what are you seeing, what are you experiencing, where it's kind of like getting you excited?
Anyone?
Yeah.
I kind of just lately I left just doing more creative and artistic stuff and less competing at the moment. Battling for me and stuff is kind of like on the back end for me, and just focusing more on what I can do for Crump in the community, artistically and creatively, and bringing it forward, maybe hopefully to a stage. Just because with Crump, you know, I want to be able to showcase it even on stage in front of people that can come and watch, instead of always just seeing it, you know, in the battles or on the street, in the ciphers, you know, just bring it more showcase to people who come and watch, and you know, so yeah, that's something I've been playing with in my head.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, back in the back.
With Art of Naili, which I'm running with Eris, yeah, we're like focusing right now on trying to bring our leaders that are in the Afro dance space to Calgary. So we're having a workshop even this coming Saturday with Venom. Everyone knows Venom?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we're trying to work on that sort of energy right now and bringing people here. Other than that, yeah, we're also hopefully do a showcase for us as well soon. yeah, and hopefully like doing some collaborations with other people as well, and contributing and helping do battles and stuff too would be really cool. But yeah, hopefully that's kind of like our side of things right now.
Yeah.
But we're also learning a lot. Like it's new, so it's like we're learning and trying to figure things out. So all of this, I would love to know as well. Got lots of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go for it.
I'm trying to bring. I'm from Colombia, so I did yesterday a dance experience for everybody. So it was crazy, and that like put my mind on different level right now, like in community things, and because even I just have 1 year and a few months here, so I've been experiencing a lot of different cultures and dance, and yes, my journey is like just go with the flow and see what happens. So that's beautiful for me. And yes, like for me, my vision right now is mixed cultures. I didn't know like it's a big Latin culture here, so we did like a salsa, chocolate classes. I teach like 2 different genre styles. 2 more dancers teach like salsa things, like partners things, and it was beautiful. It was a lot of people like getting interested in Colombian styles and experience, you know. So I was talking with Eva about like mixed cultures. So my vision is literally mix the Colombian dance experience with Afro experience, mix that cultures. Then I don't know, like house community with Colombian community and dance, like yes, like do dance classes, experience social networking for everybody, because we did 3 classes yesterday. Afterwards, a social networking, because I'm also DJ, so I'm trying to bring all my culture, like the Caribbean coast culture from Colombia, here to the city. So that's kind of my vision, like in projects and that kind of stuff. I've been dancing and performing and all of that, but I feel that's a purpose for me right now. So yes, it's kind of that thing, like bring the Colombian culture more deep with history, with all that kind of stuff to the city.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I'll be looking out for all of these projects.
A little bit half-baked, but I guess what I've been kind of focusing on these days is trying to bridge kind of the space between the dance community and the greater arts community in Calgary, because I find that we're pretty siloed. And when I have conversations with people, I'm like, I'm a dancer, and they're like, oh my god, dance, this and that and the other. So I guess bridging that gap and also lowering the barrier of entry for dance. I think there's this misconception that you have to have started when you're super young, and I think a lot of people, once they reach adulthood, just kind of think dance is something that's over there that I can't be involved with. But there's so much opportunity for us as dancers to engage with other artists in the city who are in different mediums and different styles, and also like kind of have them come to our events more and take class more and like be spectators at battles and that sort of thing. So that's what I've been thinking about.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the side of looking for grants and then executing on them, seeing, you know, the money's out there, how can we can take it and give it to myself and my friends to make cool stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely on the side, first project, travel grants, maybe a residency, mentorship kind of stuff around like icons in Canada more broadly, and learn from them and how they've done their own form of organizing and contribution to the community, and eventually, you know, because I feel like we're definitely in like a middle generation, you know, like some of us got younger students, but we also got people above us to learn from. So like bridging that gap, and whether it's events or if it's like just making a cool production project, video, collaboration, like there's a lot of possibilities. So doing that brainstorming after I get a nice travel grant would be awesome. Yeah.
You're in Montreal, right?
Yes, I've made the decision to move back to Montreal.
Yeah, I think that's even really cool. The potential of like, you know, trading culture between cities, because you have connections now in both.
Oh yeah, Alberta, Quebec, bring them together.
Could happen.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think on my case, I'm still trying to learn a lot. I know I've talked to Jill about this when we were back before a little bit too, but I think where I'm at right now is I'm also just trying to be showing up as a community member as much as possible to other people's events, whether or not they're related to prep or open style essentially, even if it's just through like social media and stuff. I think attending people's events also helps you understand maybe where you can place yourself, because I feel like grants are super important, but it's also hard to find what grant works for you if you don't even know where you want to like help out in specifically, because there's so much that you could be doing in the city, and I feel like it's very easy to get lost in all of those roles that you can kind of like put yourself in at the moment. I feel like for me personally right now, similar to said, a travel grant would be amazing, but more so I feel like in order to bring more opportunities to people who are already here so that they don't need to feel the need to move, you need to do that work yourself and actually make those connections to bring people here to spark those ideas for all those opportunities. And I think traveling also just makes you realize how much you can do. Like, because recently for Toronto, they have like a monthly crowd tournament that happens there all the time, and to see how they kind of run their things and the consistency behind it, I feel like it's just very inspiring to see like how we can really build a community in that way. But yeah, like I would love to meet more dancers of numerous different styles to hopefully bring them here, but also just to learn from them, because if you can't bring the main source, then maybe you can be another source for like the next generation of folks who are still learning, because even probably from when you guys first started to now, it's probably been a very different and big change in the scene as well too, which is really, really nice, because I feel like Calgary has had so much more events even in just the past 2 years in comparison to the previous years that we've had it as well too.
For sure.
Anyone else?
I'm curious. Well, to talk about myself, I'm still currently in like process of learning different, I guess, art mediums and all of that. Dance is my main one. I go to University of Calgary for a Bachelor of Arts in Dance and Bachelor of Kinesiology. But then also I'm trying to, I guess, widen my horizons in terms of art. I grew up doing a lot of physical art, painting, drawing, all of that. And then I also am very curious with film. I know you mentioned the movie. I don't know what the movie is about, but in terms of broadening, or more so like incorporating your, I guess, dance life into other mediums, I guess, and I think you also kind of mentioned that as well earlier. I want to know how has, like, for example, I think you mentioned like business as well, like how has that influenced you into creating projects for dance, and then all of that, like where has other aspects in your life come into these projects for specifically dance community? I want to
I think it just kind of goes back to like Sam's point about kind of understanding like what's happening already in the community and like where I can contribute. I haven't, like, to be honest, like I haven't really produced a project for within dance or arts really in a while, but where I found kind of purpose and meaning with considering like my history and like where my passions were is for the last 6 years I sat on a governance board as an advisor to a music festival here in Calgary called Sled Island. And through that work, essentially what advisory board means is like you're not getting paid, you're volunteering, but you're stewarding the mission and the vision of that organization, and you're supporting staff in that sense. And so You know, there's things that we worked on from a board level, which was creating creating opportunities where we could look at the organization. It's a multi-day, multi-venue music festival in downtown Calgary. And so part of our job was to look for opportunities to open doors for collaboration, sponsorships, partnerships, storytelling, and then also engaging City Council to see the festival as an asset, for a cultural asset, and worth investing in. And some of the things that involved, you know, inviting them to the festival and kind of hosting them and stuff like that. So that's just been kind of a way that I've like channeled my history and my knowledge and my interests into a different project in this way. And then, you know, Vince talked about Five Kings, 5-on-5 crew battle. This just felt right. And whether it's timing, whether it's the people that we were talking to and they were really excited about it. So that's something that we'll be working on. And I don't know if I'm actually hitting the question, because I think your question was like, how do you do that? Is that right?
I guess.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm still gathering a lot of things.
Yeah. I think like from what I heard, like all the different projects, what's really cool is that you're all thinking about how to bring in different people into what you're doing, and I think that's really important. That the project isn't necessarily focused on self and individual, but that you're contributing back to you know, your community or your studio or your school or whatever it is. And the more that you, hopefully the more that you just like take action on it and take that step, you'll find maybe ways of connecting the dots for you and finding that kind of inspiration to start. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I'll add to that, what you're saying, especially how business like relates to dance or has bled into dance, is that the question? Okay, so if that is the case, one thing that comes to mind for me is to the one point about sometimes you're not as a dancer, you just flow with, just do whatever, and just let the journey take you. What business has helped me do is having structure, especially when trying to level up quickly and being effective. That has helped me in my dance with creating more structure so that I could get from point A to point B faster and be more intentional. So that's one area where I found, especially, you know, if you look at the infinity of how dance bleeds into the business world and how the business world bleeds into dance, some of that structure has been really helpful for me to channel into the art so I get better. And even on the side of like events and stuff, even putting on shows like when we done the Pulse show, being more professional, especially when you're engaging different venues and stuff like that, talking, it's almost like code switching. You're like, you could talk that business talk and not seem like, oh, I'm just a kid that wants to throw an event and I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like there are those aspects that have helped me bring that in to make me sound more competent. Yeah.
One thing I can say is like get back to people faster. As you know, as an artist, sometimes you get an opportunity or you email somebody, say, hey, I have this opportunity for you, and they never get back to you within 2 weeks, 3, you know, and people won't take you serious anymore. And it starts to, you know, people get to know that and they talk. So I just be professional, get back to the person if you are, you know, willing to work with them or whatever. That's one thing I will say to my students, like get back to people when they're, you know, emailing you, texting you. If they need you for a job, have a solid answer for them and yeah, move forward with business.
Very good.
So I think we have one more question or comment.
This one is for all three of you, but because two of you guys, like owning its business is also a very like business mindset of how do I phrase this question? When you are looking for grants and you're working with relationships in all three of your jobs and the careers that you're doing, how important is it to really utilize also your social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok right now, is typically where you get a lot of your students and a lot of even your clientele, for example, for a dance studio. But for sponsorships and grants, a lot of people like to look at LinkedIn because that's more of a professional setting for that. How would you, let's say, I guess, navigate that? Like, do you think as an artist you should also be utilizing LinkedIn in a specific way in order to be in that professional mindset? Or should you be focusing more on your portfolio as a dancer and understand that you just have to be attending meetings by like cold calling people, or like literally going up to those companies and being like, hi, who's your marketing representative? Who can I talk to that's doing like community investment in all this? Because I feel like sometimes I get confused on how to gel both the business aspect, because it is very needed in events and it helps a lot with sponsorships if you have that connection to your own artistry as a person, because I feel like it's so easy to be like, oh, you're just like another person in a dime and dozens of other, even non-for-profits, especially if you're only one person, to now ask for funding for something that business might help with.
I think that all of them are very important. You got to look at the demographic of LinkedIn. You know, what the kind of people you're trying to like sell to, or see your project or your art. But I think they also have a website. Like if you can have a website for yourself, like you can send to whoever you're trying to connect to. It's very important. It shows a little bit more professionalism from your side. But yeah, I mean, you just be consistent with everything. It's like you can go and see your art. It's not just somebody out of the blue that came out want to do a project, and they're gonna compare you to another thousands of dancers, right? So have something really solid for your platforms, and something you can show, and you know who you are as an artist.
Yeah, I love that, and I'll echo the website piece with the context that you're trying to convey who you are, what you do, and your projects for grants or to procure funding. Because when you get into the game of like, which social media platform should I be on, you gotta think about like why. And if you're trying to grow your audience because you're gonna sell something down the road, or if it's gonna be your primary way of delivering a portfolio, you know, there's just like different reasons of why you would do that. And LinkedIn, knowing that the primary users are for professional, and they're decision makers for companies and whatnot. But I think it really depends on like what your end game is. And so if you were to pick one platform because of your limited resources, time, energy to build that type of content, is like to focus on one. And you're driving traffic because you're sending the link to somebody because you're inviting them to engage, right? Versus like you just creating content so that you can get your clicks and your likes and all that kind of stuff. It's just a different reason. And then, you know, if you were to think about the state of social media, and there's so many different digital platforms now that you could be on, I would say the tried and true, if you're gonna double down on one thing, I would agree with Rico. It would be the website, if possible. But otherwise, like you can use free platforms like Instagram to tell your story, to build, you know, an idea of like what your projects are, and that's free. And I would say like use that. But you know, don't forget that you're actually like in control of the situation. Like you're sending people links to wherever it is that you're going to give them context to like who you are and what you're doing. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Cool. I just actually want to say one last thing, because it might be helpful with my work in nonprofit right now, and you know, technically the company I work for is part of a bigger strategy for diversifying Calgary's like job force and creating different opportunities and different work. And one of the conversations that I have come across in this work is that Calgary is invested in building the creative economy. And so there is a strategy bubbling if you haven't already seen it, and you should pay attention to Calgary Economic Development on what that looks like. There's pillars of where they're focusing on investing, and film is in one of them. And the big kind of conversation that government is having is it's really important for Calgarians to build things and keep it here. And the word for that is intellectual property or IP. And so if you're thinking of some ideas, or you're just wanting to keep updated with potential opportunities in the future, I would recommend following Calgary Economic Development, following Calgary Arts Development, follow the creative industries conversation, and yeah, it might spark some ideas, or you might connect the dots within that strategy, and then therefore get access to funding or opportunities down the road.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
Awesome. Let's give it up for the panel.
Thank you.
If you guys have any other resources or like contact information, I can post that up on the Discord. Just email that to me. One last thing I just wanted to speak to was the artist-led event mentorship grant that's coming up. I got more information on that. I talked to Andel, who's managing that project. He's down to have a brief presentation next week. So at the end of next week, he'll be able to kind of answer any questions specifically. And then in the meantime, we're gonna get like just a little guide as to like how you can fill out, what kinds of details to add, that sort of thing. But just as a review, it's $3,000 that you'll have access to throw an event that you want. There'll be an additional $500 that we will give to whatever mentor you end up choosing. The date for execution has to be before the calendar year, so before December 31st. But the date of when you choose, you just have to have when you're gonna do your event locked in before Unity Fest, which is July 19th or 18th. So that's the information that I have right now. Stay tuned for more information, and I'll also post that on the Discord when I get it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, sure. Jill would like a photo with everybody.
Is that okay? Are you okay with being on a photo?
I'm down.
We need to document this.
Document.